Did you?
Yeah.
Finding humour in the SAS. Now, this is, as we see in your book, this is no ordinary soldier.
No, that's right. I met the SAS in a country I can't tell you about, as it turns out. I went to some countries that I wasn't allowed to tell you that I've been to, and it's a wonderful piece of mystery to hold over people, including my wife. She doesn't know where it was at the time I'd ring her. Where are you? Can't say. I can't tell you because of national security. It's a lovely thing to say. And I was in some of these countries I went to that I've officially never been there as well. So when I was there, I'd always be walking around going, I'm nowhere. Look at me, I'm nowhere. And I would do that for too long, to be honest. I'd irritate everyone. But anyway, it amused me. And in one of the countries that I can't say, that I can't mention, as it turns out, the camp I was at, you can find it on Google Earth. There you go. Anyway, that's a fact. You know who told me that? Someone who works in security, weirdly enough. They said, you can find this place on Google Earth. And I'm like, oh, cool. And one of the countries I was in when I wasn't ever there was New Year's Eve, and I spent New Year's Day there, and that was very exciting because it's good, because when I got back, everyone would be like, so what'd you do for New Year's? And I was like, oh, you know, not much. And they were like, where were you? And I'm like, nowhere. And they're like, yeah, I didn't do much either. Yeah, it's overrated as a night out, really, when you think about it. And what was the question?
Finding humour in the SAS.
In the SAS, yeah.
I mean, something as simple as having your photo taken with them becomes incredibly complicated.
Yeah, it does, it does. When I met the SS in one of these countries that I've never been to, and I knew that they were in the gig straight away, right? Because I was performing and I'd heard about them, and well, they had beards, right? That's how I knew that because I'd heard about the SAS. They blend in with the local population, and so they have beards. And no, it works. I'm not being sarcastic. And they had, they looked very authentic to my eyes. Anyway. And I was actually talking to the crowd. I was performing, doing a gig in this particular base, and I'll be honest with you, it was one of the worst gigs on the whole tour in the Middle East that I did. I wasn't particularly enjoying it. So often when a gig's not going well, I talk to people in the audience because it kind of just can get things happening, a bit like Denise did with the knitting. So like, really pepped you up as a crowd. It worked a treat. I noticed it, and I thought it was a good trick. And so anyway, they were at the back, so I'm just making conversation. I'm like, are you guys in the SAS? And they were a bit circumspect and weren't saying much. And I said, yeah. I said, I heard you grow the beards because you want to blend in with the local population. And I said, if you want to blend in with the local population, why don't you just fuck a go? Right. Now, I'll be honest with you, it didn't go well. And, it got pretty much the same reaction that it did here. It caused some people to wave at each other, anyway, and you know, I was in a war zone. I was just trying to get cheap laughs, and the gig wasn't going well. Anyway, whatever. I moved on. It wasn't a particularly clever joke. Wasn't particularly culturally sensitive. Wasn't even very funny. But anyway, they came up and said hello to me afterwards, and they said, one of them, he just looked at me and said, the reason why we weren't talking to you is it's because we're the SAS. No one's supposed to know that we're here yet in this country, but you know they do now because you were talking to us through a microphone. It's connected to speakers that can be heard outside the fucking camp. So well done, mate. And, but they're really dry. They've got a really black sense of humour. They're like, no, but it's all right. Don't worry about it, mate. You know, I'm just joking. They would have soon known that we were here lately anyway when we, you know, don't worry, everyone would have known that we were here anyway sooner or later when we started killing their friends. Don't worry about that. They would have known that we were here. And then this guy said to me, he said, do you want a beer? And I was like, yeah, because all the camps were dry. I hadn't had a beer for, you know, days. And and so I went back to their base within the base, and had a few beers with them. And the thing I remember most about it was that the conversation was really stilted because everything's a fucking secret. So I was like, what have you been up to? Nothing. Are you here on some kind of, you know, special mission? No. Have you killed anyone? No. What's that map on the wall? Don't look at that. Okay. All right. And anyway, we hung out, and it was a great time for me because it was one of those weird things where I knew I was in a story while it was happening. I was playing poker with the SAS in this country I can't mention, and had a great night, and I ended up writing a book about it.
But it would have made it difficult to have a photo with them. You should have realised that was not going to be easy to do.
Yeah, that's true. When I'd finished, I said to them, you know what, we should get a photo together. That's what we should do. But I was saying it as a gesture. I said, I'm saying that to you as a gesture. We've had a great night, and this is the point at which I would say we should all get a photo together, but obviously we can't because you're the SAS and all that kind of thing. And one of them said, yeah, we can have a photo, no worry. Let's get together, have a photo, no problem. So I go, all right. So we all get together, me and the whole gang of them, there are about 10 of them. They're all there, beards, and we're hanging out. And the guy takes a photo, he's like, and he goes, there you go, gives me my camera back. And I go, thanks. And then he looked at me and he said, now that photo ends up on the internet, I'll fucking shoot you in the head. And then they laughed, but they laughed too much and amongst themselves, without any eye contact back at me. But they were laughing not in that way like, oh gee, we scared him. They were more laughing at like, wouldn't he look funny with a hole in his head kind of way.
And that photo is actually available online. Michael Cathcart, as much as it comes as a surprise to find out that there's humour within the SAS, as a historian you must know that the military in Australia have provided us with some of our most amusing moments. As a historian, you look back at some of the funny moments of Australian history.
Oh gosh. I think ANZUS is pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I joke about ANZUS all the time.
ANZUS is great. I mean, think about what ANZUS is about. ANZUS is the Australian, New Zealand, US, ANZUS, Mutual Defence Pact. The agreement is that each of those countries will come to the aid of the other if we're invaded. If I was an American, I'd be really reassured that if America gets invaded, the New Zealanders will be coming with their ship.
Does that give you great comfort, Denise Scott?
To know that New Zealand...
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
When I was performing over in the Middle East, what I'd do is a standard opening joke would be to say, are there any US troops there? And they'd always go, woo, yeah, and they'd get very excited. And then I'd say, to you, I just want to say thank you for supporting Australia's war in Iraq. And they didn't get that, which is fine. But it made the Australians laugh a lot. But what I'd do is, when I'd go to another gig, I'd dumb the joke down again, because if they were New Zealanders, which they weren't in Iraq, but they were in Afghanistan as part of the coalition troops, and then to the New Zealand, I'd say that, to the New Zealanders, and then I'd say to the Australians, I want to say thank you to New Zealand for helping Australia's war in Iraq, and it would, you trickle it down. You're always a good target.